Zach, there's always questions when an assistant coach takes over for the guy who just got let go. We did see Ty Lue make some significant changes to the Cavaliers when he took over for David Blatt, even though he was on Blatt's staff. But it feels a little different this time. I mean, Doc Rivers really has mentored Ty Lue through his entire coaching career. So what differences do you think we can expect to really see with Ty Lue at the helm versus Doc?
Yeah, I mean, there's still room for a lot of changes. I mean, the Clippers are still a brand new team. They were still learning each other when the season stopped last year. And I think Ty Lue, he has a reputation as sort of a guy who gets in people's faces, and he held LeBron accountable. I think that stuff has overshadowed how smart a tactical coach he is. And I think you're going to see him experiment more with lineups that maybe Doc didn't use as much, for good or for bad. Maybe some of them won't work, maybe some of them will. I think they'll shoot more threes. I think they'll play smaller more, sometimes without a traditional center. I think he'll experiment with some more kind of adventurous defensive schemes and use next season to see what sticks, to prepare them to pivot from one scheme to another in a playoff series that demands it. I think Ty's a really underrated tactical coach.
Not on this show, I would say, Zach. We are always talking about his X and O's. Perk, you and I talk about this all the time, right? I mean, it's why, frankly, I thought that Houston would be lucky to get him, because they needed some more imaginative thinking on the court. What do you expect from the X and O angle from Ty in L.A.?
Well, see, a lot of people don't realize, and they discredit him because he coached LeBron James. But behind the scenes, Rachel, this guy is a stud. Ty Lue don't sleep. He's a film watcher. He's a student of the game. He holds guys accountable, like Zach said, especially in the film room and in practices. You don't see too many emotions out of Ty Lue during the game, because he always lived by the motto of practices are for coaches, games are for players. But he's going to hold guys accountable, and he also is able to relate to guys. Like, this is a team that needed a different voice. No knock on Doc Rivers, but they needed this young blood in Ty Lue that's going to be able to relate to them on and off the court. And this is why I say this is a players' league, because if anyone has any doubt that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George didn't have a say in this Ty Lue hiring, they're in denial, because players, franchise players, have a say in who they want.
Of course.
And I think Ty Lue voicing his opinion while he was an associate head coach played a huge part in this hiring and Doc firing.
And Ty's range of experience, who he's played with, who he's coached, whether it ranges from Shaq and Kobe, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Garnett, yourself, obviously, Perk. I mean, there's so many, LeBron, we talk about all the time, but there's so many different playing styles that he has been able to sort of be part of. He's definitely a scribble on the back of a napkin, plays on the back of a napkin guy. I've seen him do that. He loves tinkering so much. I've had guys say to me, I think he's making changes just to make changes, because he is so interested in the game and the mechanics of how it works. So I am always excited when he gets sort of at the helm of something to see what he does with it. He's going to take the Clippers out for a spin, and we're going to see just how much they got under the hood. All right, we spoke about the Clippers at the top of the show, but let's talk about the two guys that were together on the bench last season, Ty Lue and Doc Rivers. While Doc has moved on to Philly, Ty taking over for him in L.A. Zach, which coach do you think is under more pressure this next coming season? Ty with the Clippers or Doc in Philly?
I think it's clearly Ty Lue with the Clippers, and it's not so much like anyone's job is at stake or anything. I mean, these guys are first-year coaches, long-term deals, tons of money. Like, they're fine either way. But I think the expectations for the Sixers should probably be reset a little bit lower after what a disastrous end of the season they had this year, whereas the expectations for the Clippers are still enormous. And as of right now, we'll see what happens this summer, but as of right now, both of their stars can be free agents after next season. Almost the opposite is true in Philly. Embiid and Simmons are locked up long term. So there's just so much riding on next year for the Clippers that it just has to be Ty Lue by default.
Oh, look, I'm with you, Zach. The pressure is on Ty Lue. And, Rachel, you know how I've been lobbying for Ty Lue to get a job, and I'm happy that he got it. But the pressure is on him and the Los Angeles Clippers for a lot of reasons. One, it's championship or bust. There's no more excuses for them. Two, they're in the same town as the Los Angeles Lakers, and we all know how that rivalry is, especially right now. All the noise talking you see going back and forth on the internet, all the celebrities that are going back and forth. And then on top of that, let's not forget that Ty Lue turned down the Los Angeles Lakers job last year because he didn't get enough years and enough money and then took a lesser role with the Clippers. Now all of a sudden he's the Clippers head coach right across town from the rivalry of the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's championship or bust, and there's no other way around it.
Yeah, not even across town, down the hallway. I mean, it's right there in front of his face, in front of everyone's face.
Right.
Zach, I do want to ask you a little bit more about the Philly job. I agree with you that the expectations are higher in L.A., but the task in some ways in Philadelphia is a little bit harder with the personnel that they have there right now. They've just been shedding shooters over the past few seasons, and we've seen the effect on Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons trying to play together. And the numbers, I mean, you know, you're much more versed in this than I do about how much flexibility they have in tradable parts over the next season and over what they can do in this offseason. How much pressure is there on Doc to make the pieces that he has in front of them work?
I think it's one of the hardest and most interesting tasks in the league, frankly. I mean, the offense last year with Simmons and Embiid was not very good. It was better when Al Horford was coming off the bench. And I think that's the name we're going to hear a lot in trade rumors is can they somehow shift Al Horford somewhere else and get pieces that fit around them better? But it's going to be tough to move.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that they're locked into that deal, what they already gave up for Tobias Harris. It is interesting. They definitely need to make some tinkering and changes on the roster. I don't know how much they're going to be able to, and I think that the problem that presents for Doc Rivers is it's significant, and I'm interested to see what he does with it because we know he's very good. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.